Hey guys, today I'm answering a question that was asked by Abigail. How do I soak in the presence of God? Honestly, I don't call it soaking. I don't know why. I've never grown comfortable with that word, with that phrase. I call it waiting. So for me, it's waiting because that carries a different picture for me in my mind and my heart. Although you could call it soaking, which I have a funny my dad, when me and my friends were soaking, he's like, "You guys always sucking. You guys always." Anyways, I thought that was funny. Because my dad's Russian, and he's like, "Stop sucking so much." No, we're soaking, Dad. No, we're waiting. So, how do I soak in the presence of God? How do I wait on God? Well, I look at it this way. In waiting on the Lord, there's one thing that needs to be recognized. We're not waiting for God to come as much as we're waiting for God to be Himself. It takes a while for people to grow comfortable and to grow used to being themselves, even around people. In the same way that time with people pulls out different things from within people, right? So the longer you're with somebody, the more they're gonna unpack their hearts, or the more comfortable you'll grow with their presence and their nearness, and you'll begin to experience them in different ways. And so in waiting on God and being with Him and really not doing anything but being with Him, we allow God to manifest Himself the way He desires. And this is what I believe in coming to God every day. We must allow Him to come however He wants, because this is the premise of Him manifesting Himself. A lot of times we have a grid of how God does manifest Himself, how He does come, and so sometimes we're so boxed in how He comes that we miss Him in a different way that He wants to come. So in coming to God, you must surrender even the experience of God to God. Surrendering to God, being abandoned to God, and allowing God to come however He wants. And so this is how I approach waiting on God. I surrender, and I surrender any preconceived notion that I may have to how you should come. When we come to God, we come for God Himself, for God to be God. For God to be God. When you come to Jesus every day in the secret place, you come to God for God. You come to Him to taste of Him, to eat of Him, to be in Him, to be filled with Him, to be touched and revived by His presence. So let me remind you that His presence is our food. So when we wait on Him and He comes, He is our nourishment. So however He comes, it may be in the slightest inkling, in a slight little touch of the heart, and it quickens us and it wakens us to life. He knows how to feed us, and this is what we must understand in coming to God. God knows how to nourish us. He knows what food we need. He knows what drink we need. In the same way that there's many different drinks, there's many different foods, and there's many different things that will nourish our body in different ways. The same way, if we come to God for God, if we come to Jesus for simply Himself, He will give us the food that we need. And so when I come to Him, I fully surrender my heart, and I abandon my heart to Him and say, God, come as you please. And then I just am in that posture of waiting and stillness and expectation, here I am, God. Good example of surrender is a feather, because a feather is light enough to fall on the ground, but then it's also light enough to be blown away by the breeze. This is the picture that I have of surrender. It's we're a feather in the presence of the Lord, so that He can blow us where He wills. And sometimes we're on the ground and there's nothing happening, but then when His wind comes, we're so light, we're so free from ourselves that He can blow us wherever He desires. And so in waiting on God and expecting Him and coming to Him, be fully surrendered and allow Him to nourish you. Bless you guys. Leave a comment below of maybe a way that you come to God, or a posture that you have when you come to God. That, maybe we'll go back and forth on a few comments down below. Thank you guys. Bless you guys, and just be with Jesus, because that's where it's at.